Good morning, people internet. My name is Tyler, and today I'm going to show you guys a little basic tutorial on UVs. So, what are UVs? UVs are the ability to add custom textures to any type of object that you have. And so, first, what we're going to do, so this is the object itself, but we're only seeing the material that is shown. What we want to do is we're going to add a UV to it. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the UV editor. So, we're going to go up here. At the top, we're going to hit UV Editor. So this is going to pull up a couple windows. They might look a little bit different. I just have them this way because I have them on my second monitor. Let's see. So we'll put it over here. So this is what we're looking at here. This is our UV. So typically with these UVs, since this is such a simple cube, I'm not really going to do a ton, but when we're talking about more advanced stuff, what we're going to do is we're going to go to this section, and we're going to hit UV shell. So what this does is it selects the UV shell of the actual object. Now this isn't the actual object we're selecting, so what I'm going to do, since typically the UVs that are made for the actual object are really bad, and so what we're going to do is we're actually just going to delete it. So now it's gone. We're going to go back into object mode. As you can see, there's no UV, but what we can do is we can actually create a new UV. So what we're going to do is come over here, we're going to hit create, and we're just going to do automatic. Okay, I have no clue what that blue box was, but anyways. As you can see, we have all the faces already cut out, and so this was a really good UV just because it's a simple object. Typically, you don't have to do this, or sorry, typically you do have to do some editing, but these are all the faces of the actual box. And so just to, as an example, as you can see these edges, these are what are called cuts. And so typically what I'm going to do, I'm just going to break the UV really quick. And so let's say the automatic didn't do all of it, and there's still these edges that you want to complete, so they create the actual faces of the object. So what we're going to do is we're going to select these two, and we're just going to hit cut. But wait, it's still broken. So what do we do? Well, what we're going to do is I'm going to select all of this. So there's this thing called, where is it? Unfolding. So what unfolding does is it every time you add a certain cut, it adds a surface for the UV to recognize itself. And so this is, when it says UV, these are the different directions within the 2D space, to put it in simpleton terms. And so now, since we made the cut, it made the pieces a little bit crooked, but that's okay. So now we have all the pieces back together. And so your base your idea for making these UVs is you want them to fit in a square, and for the parts that you want to have more detail in, you make them larger and take bigger of the screen. So now that I have all these parts, I'm going to try to make them all as big, and typically I just keep them to one square just to make it easier for adding the textures on. So let me increase the size of these. So I think this is honestly really bad, but for now it's okay. And also, they don't have to be necessarily perfectly straight. There's no real like defining thing without eyeballing it, and especially for a square, it really doesn't matter. So now that I think this is a good enough UV snapshot, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a snapshot of it. So we're going to select all of them. I always forget to do this. So we're gonna select all of them. I'm going to go at the top here, I believe it is under image. I'm going to scroll all the way down to UV snapshot. So this basically what this is going to do is it's going to take that image or take those UVs and convert them into one image. So you can customize all this. I just leave it as this. So what we're going to do, I have this under another project. We'll just do that. So make sure it's selected and then hit apply. You can also hit apply and close. I tend not to just because I want to check. Make sure it's there. So we'll go to my project, desk, and here it is. This is our UV. As you can see, all the 4 boxes. Wait, that's not box. Boom. Or all. Sorry, I cannot count. For 6 boxes here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to, depending on what program you use, I personally use Photoshop just because I can, I'm using my school account, so it's free for me, but you can literally use any photo editing program. Like you can literally use Paint if you really wanted to. So I already have Photoshop opened here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go open. That's another project for school. We're going to go desk, source images, and here we're going to open this up. So this is our actual UV. And so if I wanted to be really specific, I would get images for all of these boxes, or what you can do, just be really lazy with it, you can literally just grab a single texture and you can literally just put it over like this. But that doesn't look very good, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink this a little bit. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to place these to make sure that they fit. And so when you're doing UVs, they typically you literally don't have to be perfect, because all this dark space, this will not be displayed. So if you're doing like a really good or not detailed character that there's not a lot of space in between, then you have to be a little bit more cautious. But with something like this, I can literally just make the pictures go over the border slightly. It really doesn't matter. I'll just continue this. Okay, so this is a really rough, just basic thing. And also when you're doing these UVs, you can use any picture or you can manually draw all these depending upon what in the world you're doing. So what we're going to do now, we're going to do a save as, we'll just save it as a JPEG. I'll just name this, I'll do 10, why not? And just make sure it's max quality's maximum. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add a new material to this cube. So I'm going to assign new material, and typically I just go down the bottom, I hit shader under Arnold, and I do AI standard surface. And so basically this is just a placeholder for the actual UV that we're going to put in, or the UV pixel that we're going to put in. So we're going to hit the little checkered color, and we're going to hit file because we want a file. And so now, as you can see, it is now looking for a file, so we're going to help it find it. We're going to go to desk and then source images, and here's our UV with the added texture. So now we're going to click it, and you say, wait, there's nothing showing. So even on our UV, it says there's something there, but obviously it is not being displayed. So what you need to do is you need to actually show the texture. So by default, the textures are not showing. And so what you're going to do is you're going to come to this top bar, and these are how you display all of the certain things that you want to display in the viewport. And so what we're going to do is we're going to hit textured. And there you go. This is how you display the actual UV. And so if you want to be a lot more exact, we could move these around. So I'm going to bring this back over. And so, oops, sorry, it's not looking at the right one. So if you want these to all be in the same direction, I can tilt this just to make sure like everything is going the right direction. But for right now, this is just a basic tutorial. And yeah, and so this is what it looks like. And let's say your object isn't looking the best. What you can do is when you're editing stuff, or let's say something is super stretched, you can hit this little checkered map. And so what this does is it displays the UV like this. And so let's say one of these boxes isn't scaled right. As you can see, it starts to copy the pixel all around. This is something you don't want. So what you do is this is how you just make sure that everything has the same amount of checkers in the actual zone to make sure that it's balanced and it doesn't look wrong. And this is a whole, oh, it's a little funky still. Okay, there we go. And this is a whole job, a separate career that people have gone through, and so I'm not perfect in this, but I'm still working on it. And so yeah, that was just the basics of UV mapping. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.